guys, welcome back to Save File as Paralegal. My name is Talia for those of you that are new, and I currently work as a house counsel legal assistant here in the state of Florida. If you're returning to my channel, make sure to like this video or leave me a comment so that I know that you are here. Today we're going to be talking about the working differences between legal assistants and paralegals. So hopefully you find this helpful, and if you're interested, stay tuned. Okay. So today we're talking about the working differences between legal assistants and paralegals. So I think it's important to note that specific roles and responsibilities of paralegals and legal assistants can vary from jurisdiction and law firms and organizations that you work for. So take this information for what it is. This is just a high-level overview, but just know that can be some differences. But sometimes the job title and job duties are blurred, and we all know, well, most of us know in the legal field that legal assistant or paralegal are usually used interchangeably when they're being spoken about. But in this new age, I don't even know what to even say. A lot of the roles and responsibilities are sometimes the same. For example, what I currently do now, I would be considered a paralegal, but that's not my job title. So I'm basically juggling both the administrative side that legal assistants would usually do, as well as like the drafting, discovery side that paralegals would usually do. But let's talk about it. So I'm looking down on my phone because there are 4 points that I really want to hit. And I have some notes here. Like I said, this is based off of my schooling as well as my personal experience and from talking with different people in the legal field as well. And the first thing that I want to touch on is education and training. Paralegals historically had formal education, and that included associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees in legal studies. I'm not sure if it was called paralegal studies then. I have seen older programs that called it legal studies, and the paralegals also were the ones carrying certifications. So it only made sense, you know, with that title and what the responsibilities was, that you would have that formal education. Legal assistants back historically, on the other hand, you could have a high school diploma or a general associate's degree, and often, or a general associate's degree, it didn't have to be legal based because you would receive on the job training for that. But nowadays we know that because those terms are used interchangeably, and sometimes you are both the legal assistant, especially in sole practitioner firms, you are both the legal assistant and paralegal. Girl, you have to have the formal education for both. And unfortunately, we're also in an odd time where even if you have the formal education for both, you're not always paid the same as a legal assistant as you would be a paralegal in some areas, especially when you get into litigation, on the litigation side. So I did want to touch on that because I do get questions of, do I need this degree if I want to just be a legal assistant? Or you know, is it worth it do I need the full 4 years or do I need the 2 years? And nowadays we know that employers are asking for more in education, even though they're paying less sometimes. But I really feel like it'll benefit you either way. And just like me, I currently make about, well, I'll tell you guys, as a legal assistant, I am paid $57,500. I had to remember. I currently make, so I'm gonna just say I make $57,000 a year, but I'm under that title of legal assistant. With what I know now and the experience on the job training that I have now, I could easily go into a paralegal role and be making 65 or 70, which I'm considering. No, let me take that out, because of the on-the-job training. So I just, that is also a big difference. Historically, paralegals, they work more closely with the attorneys. And so you're learning about discovery, you're learning about these important moving pieces in a case. And so you would be expected more, and so therefore you'd be paid more. So that brings me to my next point, which is scopes of responsibility. Historically, paralegals generally have broader ranges of responsibilities, including legal research, drafting legal documents, assisting attorneys in trial prep, case prep, and paralegals generally work more independently than legal assistants. Legal assistants, historically, on the other hand, usually they're handling more of the administrative tasks, including answering phones, calendaring, managing files, organizing files, communicating with clients. And like I said, their role historically were all have to do with administration, scheduling. Like I said, scheduling, managing calendars, calling clients. They really took the heavy lifting kind of out of it. I know when I was doing internship as a legal assistant, I was going to the mailbox and things like that, copying all the administrative tasks that you can think of, preparing files in the sense of naming those files, making sure it's in the system, making sure our client information is in the system. Those are all things that I was tasked to do as a legal assistant. But depending on what your role is, my current role, I'm responsible. My role when I worked for a sole practitioner, I was both. I was doing both. I was doing the admin and the paralegal. There was no separation. So, and what I currently do is I also do the administrative portion, including the drafting portion, including the filing and e-filing, getting discovery out, getting discovery responses, and I'm still responsible for all of that as well. But my title is legal assistant. So I always say, don't let the title fool you. Look at the job responsibilities, okay? The next thing I want to talk about is supervision and independence. Paralegals historically are more independent in their work and are often allowed to provide legal assistance under supervision of attorney. We are not practicing attorneys, so we can absolutely not give legal advice. But what that means is, excuse me, there is a bug in here. What that means is while we're drafting discovery, doing discovery responses, we complete all of that. Some litigation paralegals, when they're doing their trial prep, they have to prepare brochure logs and interrogatories. Sorry. They have to prepare a lot of the pleadings that go out, witness lists and things like that. And even though the attorney has to go over what we wrote and make sure that it is correct and it is, it's legal and everything is copacetic, it is the paralegals that are doing that heavy lifting. So they work a little bit more independent, but both legal assistant and paralegal are supervised by attorneys, the attorney work. I have seen sometimes where the legal assistant, because I did intake one for an attorney, and my intakes were supervised by the paralegal. They weren't supervised by the attorney. So sometimes that can be different, but that depends on the organization that you work for and your jurisdiction. So be careful with that. Legal assistants typically work closely with attorneys and have less independent when it comes to legal tasks because they focus more on administrative and organizational support. And that was my experience as well. As a paralegal, I was allowed to work autonomously on legal tasks and legal documents and drafting. I didn't have to keep checking with the attorney if this is right. You know what I'm saying? Because it was kind of like, once you learn how to do some of these things, especially now that I'm doing like a lot more discovery, I've been doing a lot more discovery and stuff like that. Once you learn how that goes and what type of questions, it all becomes like second nature to you. But legal assistant, because you're doing the administrative part and you're doing the big part, especially when it comes to managing a calendar and managing those deadlines, and not just attorney deadlines for filing, but deadlines for case management orders, trial orders, and those type of things. you're definitely going back and forth with the attorney more, I think, than you would as a paralegal. I currently work independently, but I am supervised. I have a supervisor, but she doesn't supervise my work in the same capacity. Does that make sense? But the attorney does. So the last thing I want to touch on before we close out is legal practice. Paralegals are authorized to provide legal services in some jurisdiction, not in mine, such as assisting with certain legal forms or processes under the supervision of an attorney. Legal assistants generally do not provide direct legal services, again, because they support attorneys they do not provide direct legal services and mainly support attorneys in their, and they don't normally support attorneys in their work because they're more of an administrator. So what I would say is that should give you a good base, especially if you're researching and you're trying to decide what you want to do in the legal field, especially if you are not sure if you want to pursue a paralegal degree, but you're like, I'm kind of feeling this. I'm kind of feeling this. Hopefully that was extremely helpful. Personally, from my so that is a good basis to start your research in. What I would say is look at the job responsibilities, because again, the word legal assistant and paralegal are used interchangeably, and now more than ever, both legal assistants and paralegals alike are required to have the same education. So while there should be and can be a lot of differences between the responsibilities, most times, depending on the type of law you go into, the type of organization you work for, there are not. And so you want to consider that when applying for jobs or pursuing this as a career. If you're not comfortable with one thing, or you're more comfortable with one thing than the other, this is definitely a great video to reference, so make sure you save it for later. Thank you so much for sticking to the end. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you need anything clarified, drop it down below. You guys be blessed, be well, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.